Hey guys, Nancy here with T Cell Logic. We're all doing really good. Welcome. Today our case comes to us from Exeter, England, and we will be talking about Lorraine Cox. In 2021, a young lady named Lorraine Cox went missing in Exeter, England. While in town visiting family and friends, she decided to go out one evening with her friends at a pub. At about 1:30 a.m., she started walking home alone. Except on this night, there would be a monster lurking in the town center of Exeter, and he had some unpleasant plans for whoever had the misfortune of running into him that evening. No one heard from Lorraine after this evening. No one knew where she was. Lorraine Cox was living in Scotland at this time with her girlfriend, and she had previously lived in Exeter. That's actually where she's from. It's where she grew up and it's where her family lived. So she had returned to visit her friends in the city. After being gone for so long, it's natural that she would begin to miss her family and friends. While she was in Exeter, she was primarily staying with her dad. On September 1st, Lorraine spent the evening with her friends, drinking and socializing at Exeter Quay, the arcade pub on First Street. At about 1:30 a.m., Lorraine's original plan was to get a ride home with one of her friends, but they had become separated sometime throughout the night, so she decided to walk home instead. Lorraine started heading to her father's house, which wasn't very far from the pub they were drinking at. She was very drunk, and CCTV captured Lorraine at Bodrum Kebab Shop, where she had stopped for a midnight snack. She sat down and she ate her kebab. She was no stranger to the town. She knew where she was going and even felt comfortable walking and sitting in town late at night to eat a kebab. So she was pretty comfortable with where she was going and she felt safe. Soon after finishing her kebab, Lorraine resumed her walk home. Shortly after 2 a.m., Azam, who at this time is the main suspect, left his second floor apartment atop Bodrum Kebab Shop on the corner of Mary Arches Street. CCTV shows Azam with his hood up following Lorraine after she left the kebab shop. Not too long after he starts following her, Lorraine became aware that there was someone behind her, possibly following her. This was along High Street.
Okay, so here we see Azam walking down the street.
Not too long after, we see Lorraine become noticeably aware they are attempting to make contact.
Okay, there he is again. And here we see he's going across the street. I wonder what he said to her when he approached her.
Azam managed to lure Lorraine into an alleyway, and it is here where they would engage in sexual intercourse. And what makes this even more puzzling is the fact that Azam had recorded the 13-minute encounter in a voice memo on his phone. After this, CCTV then shows Azam literally leading Lorraine back to his apartment. Conveniently for him, it was just upstairs from the kebab shop. In the footage, you can see that it seems like he's kind of like pulling her by her arm. It doesn't really seem like she's 100% down for going to his apartment, but somehow he got her to go with him. This is the last time Lorraine was ever seen, was at 2:45 a.m. on CCTV. On this night, Azam had been looking to hire an escort. And it is believed that Azam was bisexual because he first contacted a male escort and then after he contacted a female escort. Either way, they never ended up meeting that night. But that wasn't going to stop him from taking advantage of someone and getting what he wanted. Azam was out that evening with a malicious intent for sure. With it being so late at night, he was positive he could find someone He took notice of Lorraine while she was sitting down eating her kebab. In that instant, he decided that she would be the one he would target this evening. Azam claims that when they got to their apartment, they had sex twice. They smoked and they listened to music and they drank alcohol. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Lorraine collapsed and died. He said that before all of this, Lorraine had taken out some drugs that she smoked from a piece of foil. And from this, he had supposedly inhaled some of the smoke and felt sick right away. And then he decided to lay down so that he would feel better. According to Azam, he ended up dozing off, and then he said he found Lorraine collapsed on the floor. Azam claims that he attempted CPR on Lorraine based on what he had seen on TV and movies. He wasn't actually certified to administer CPR, but he tried his best, according to Azam. But this didn't work, and he could not revive Lorraine. He panicked and he said he didn't know what to do. He said he wanted to run away. He says that when he dozed off, he was hoping he'd wake up from what he thought was just a really bad nightmare. But when he woke up, he realized this was not a nightmare. It was, in fact, something that was happening in reality. And then when he saw Lorraine collapsed on the floor, he dragged her into his bed because he thought she looked cold. I'm not sure if this is when he realized she was already dead or if he thought she was just sleeping or what the story was, but he had a lot of versions of what happened that evening. So, in addition, Azam claims to have been hallucinating and saw creatures in his room. Either way, whatever he thought was happening at that time, instead of calling police, he went and passed out on his bed. When he woke up, realizing that he was not dreaming, that this was not a nightmare, he still did not call police. As a matter of fact, he never planned to call the police. He kept Lorraine's body in his apartment while he thought of how to get rid of Lorraine's body. He spent the next day digging through her belongings and using her phone. He went on her social media, emails, and even tried stealing money from her by setting up a PayPal account. Later in the evening, he went on Snapchat. He took a video of himself vaping on his bed, listening to music with the lyrics "Angels Deserve to Die," which is a System of a Down song called Chop Suey. He also began messaging her friends and family, pretending she was still alive, and saying that she had relocated to Plymouth to start fresh after going to the pub with her friends and having a good time and walking home only to end up in Plymouth. So one message on September 3rd, 2020 said, "Hey Papa, I'm sorry. I'm in Plymouth. Please forgive me." Another said, "I love you, Papa. Changing my number. I will text you my new number." Azam was trying really hard to sound like Lorraine, clearly using Lorraine's use of words to try and deceive her loved ones into thinking that it was Lorraine and that Lorraine decided she was going to move to Plymouth and start a new life for reasons unknown, even though she was there visiting from Scotland where she lived with her fiance. But her family and friends were no dummies. They knew that the person messaging them was not Lorraine. They replied to this individual saying that they were going to call the police, would put Azam into panic mode. Azam spent 1 week with Lorraine's body in his apartment, decomposing, while he pondered damage control. He started making trips to the store to buy items that would help him dispose of Lorraine's body. Despite his clear effort to cover up his crime, he declared the days following Lorraine's death as a living hell and that he couldn't sleep for 14 days, which I don't believe. There's no way you're not going to sleep for 14 days. I mean, he sure fell asleep after she collapsed on the floor, so I'm not sure why he can't sleep now. But Sam went and purchased the "I Just Killed Someone" starter pack, which included tape, tarps, and a heater fan, garbage bags, and an air purifier to hide the smell. Azam's internet history showed him looking up topics relating to amputation, and how to get rid of a body and how to dig a grave by hand. Azam mutilated Lorraine's body by cutting her up into 7 pieces. He said that he wrapped her up in plastic bags and imagined she had turned into tobacco. Some of her body was found in an alleyway next to the kebab shop, and other parts were found in the woods of Newton St. Cyr. He also made several trips to River X. The kebab shop owner, Ali Sadiq Hamaman, said that he saw Azam and Gori leaving with 3 large garbage bags and a large blue duffel bag. Not long after learning that the police were looking for Lorraine and were out gathering CCTV footage from the night she went missing. Tenants on the 2nd floor began to notice a foul smell coming from Azam's apartment. One even remembers Azam asking them when the garbage truck comes by to pick up the garbage. After finding out what was on the CCTV footage, police went and spoke with Azam. He gave them a false name at first, saying his name was Christopher Mayer, and he also lied about his date of birth. Unfortunately for Christopher Mayer, his fingerprints were on file with German authorities since 2016 under the name Azam Mangori, and the Home Office records told the story of Azam being a failed asylum seeker who had been living in Exeter and subject to deportation. This explains why Azam would give police a false name and date of birth when they began questioning him. When police showed Azam a CCTV image of him with Lorraine, he said that he didn't think the man in the CCTV footage was him, and that he did not recall bringing Lorraine or any woman back to his apartment on that night. He said, "Why would I bring this woman back to my room? I am gay. I have never even seen this lady." Of course, this is not true because he had a history of hiring and contacting female escorts and male escorts. Police observed that the temperature in his apartment was pretty high. This was likely from him trying to dry out the room to remove all traces of Lorraine. When police were there questioning him, he tried to make it seem like he was worried for her by saying things like, "I hope she's okay," even though he was keeping her in his room for like a week and then tossed her out like garbage. Lorraine's naked torso was found in a wooded area a little under 2 weeks after she had gone missing. Her t-shirt was found stuffed in her mouth, and this is what may have been the cause of her death. Pathologists were unable to determine exactly how Lorraine died because it had already been 2 weeks since she passed away, and her body had been in a state of decomposition when they found her, hindering the ability to determine when or what the cause of death was. It's likely that she had suffocated from Azam shoving a t-shirt so far into her mouth, almost down her throat in fact. He cut off her airway and smothered her without question, which no one just does for fun. They do it with the intent of killing someone. Clearly, he knew what he was doing and he just didn't care. His brutal, cruel, and savage deliberate acts meant to cause harm is something that Azam had clearly intended ever since he first laid his disgraced eyeballs on Lorraine. Forensic scientist Michael Wheelhouse examined the evidence recovered from Azam's apartment. He said that the garbage bag had Azam's DNA on the knots. Lorraine's DNA was found on a saw in Azam's apartment, but because of the large amount of blood on the saw, no other DNA profiles could be obtained from the saw. Michael also found DNA on 2 knives that they found in his apartment, and they also found her DNA on the blood splatter they found on his wall and blood spatter in his bedroom. Some of Lorraine's personal belongings were also found in his apartment, such as her driver's license and her backpack that she had been carrying the night that she went missing. Police took the serial number to Azam's cell phone and found that it matched the one that he was using to send messages to her friends and family in the days after Lorraine went missing. Azan's defense statement claimed that he did not know how she ended up dying that night. All he knows is that she took drugs while at his apartment and she collapsed on the floor, but he didn't know how or what exactly happened to her. Investigators looked into the fact that Lorraine was diabetic. Maybe that had something to do with her death. Police were looking into all the possibilities. This was immediately ruled out as the cause of her death. Toxicology reports found no traces of drugs in the samples of muscle, liver, and cavity fluid that they were able to recover from her body. They did not find metabolites of cocaine or other recreational drugs in her body, even though, according to Azam, she had taken some drug in large amounts shortly before she died. I'm not sure if it's because of the length of time that had passed when they tested her for those drugs, or maybe she just never actually took drugs. I mean, Azam is clearly a liar. All in all, investigators had enough proof that Azam was responsible for the murder of Lorraine. CCTV, DNA, phone records, internet searches, toxicology reports, statements from her family. It was all set in stone. Azam was charged with murder and preventing the lawful burial of Lorraine Cox. He denied being responsible for her murder, but he did admit to preventing a lawful burial. After a 5-week trial at Exeter Crown Court and 6 hours of deliberation, a jury found Azam guilty of murder. Azam, or Azan, was sentenced to life in prison. No one really knows why he did it.
Alright guys, well that does it for this video. Let me know what you think down below in the comments.
If you haven't already, please like and subscribe and turn on the little bell for notifications. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out.